Hello! In this tutorial, I'm going to show you the basics of using a buret. A buret is a type of glassware that is calibrated to deliver varying volumes of solution accurately. There are many different sizes of burets. You will use 50 milliliter burets. Before working with a buret, it is essential to make sure that goggles are on, that the buret has been inspected for any cracks, and, if necessary, gloves are used. A buret is a long cylindrical tube with graduation markings every 0.1 milliliters. The opening at the top is used to fill the glassware using a funnel. At the bottom of the buret, the glass tapers to a tip with a very narrow opening. The flow of liquid from the buret is controlled by a valve called a stopcock. During your initial inspection of a buret, it is necessary to look for any breakages or impediments that will compromise the flow of solution. It is necessary to use a buret clamp and ring stand when using a buret. Buret clamps and ring stands are found in the glassware corner of the lab. To assemble, slide the ring stand through the center holes of the buret clamp and secure the clamp by tightening the wing nut. Place the buret on either side of the clamp and verify that it is vertical. After setting up the buret, it is necessary to rinse the buret well before adding the reagent. All buret cleaning should be performed at your lab bench. Even if a buret appears clean, it should be rinsed with tap water first and then DI water. Place a funnel in the top opening, double check to make sure that the stopcock is closed, and pour tap water into the buret. Always remove the funnel after adding any liquid into the buret. Open the stopcock to allow some of the tap water to leave through the tip to ensure that this area is also rinsed. If an ample amount of water was used to rinse the buret, you may empty the remaining water through the top, taking care when removing and handling the buret. Rinse the buret at least 2 times with tap water. After rinsing the buret with tap water, rinse it 2 or 3 times with small quantities of DI water, following the same procedure. This rinse should also be performed at your lab bench. DI water can be obtained from the white-handled faucets at each sink. After the buret has been rinsed with DI water, it is important to rinse it 2 or 3 times with small quantities of the reagent that will be dispensed by the buret. Make sure that you are using a funnel to add the reagent to the buret and that the stopcock is closed. Allow the reagent to leave through the buret tip to ensure that this area is rinsed as well. Collect these rinses in a beaker that is designated for the waste hood. At this point, the buret is ready to be filled with the reagent. Always remember to verify that the stopcock is closed before adding any liquid to a buret. A brief note about safety. When filling a buret, it is necessary to use a funnel and to take your time, as you will most likely be working above your head. It is not necessary to fill the buret to exactly 0.00 milliliters. This is time-consuming and nearly impossible to achieve. Instead, fill the buret about 5 to 10 milliliters more than what you anticipate using for your first trial. For example, if 35 milliliters of reagent will be needed, the buret might be filled with 40 to 45 milliliters of reagent. The above burette has been filled to the 9.5 milliliter mark. It is capable of dispensing 40.5 milliliters of reagent. Once the burette has been filled and the funnel has been removed, check the burette tip to see if any air bubbles are present. The above image shows an air bubble immediately below the stopcock. To remove all air bubbles, open the stopcock fully. Once the tip is filled entirely with reagent, you are able to take your initial reading. When reading the volume of the reagent in the burette, it is important to be at eye level with the meniscus. If you are viewing the meniscus from an angle, this will result in an erroneous reading. The image above illustrates the proper position of the eyes when taking a burette reading. If it is difficult to read the volume, place your hand, notebook, or a small piece of paper toweling behind the burette. Burettes are read from the top to the bottom. 0 milliliters is at the top of the burette, while 50 milliliters is at the bottom near the tip. If the burette was filled to the 0 milliliter graduation mark, this would indicate that 0 milliliters of the solution has been delivered and that 50 milliliters remain in the burette. To determine the amount of reagent delivered by the burette, it is necessary to record an initial reading and a final reading. Whenever taking a burette reading, it is necessary to estimate between the 0.1 milliliter graduations. The volume of reagent is between 9.5 milliliters and 9.6 milliliters. It appears that the bottom of the meniscus is on the 9.5 milliliter mark, so I might estimate the volume to 9.50 milliliters. 9.51 or 9.52 milliliters are also acceptable. All volumes need to be recorded to the hundredths place. After recording the initial volume in your notebook, dispense the required amount as called for by your procedure. When you are approaching the necessary volume, begin to turn the stopcock to slow the flow of reagent or to begin dispensing the reagent dropwise. When the proper amount of reagent has been dispensed, check to see if a drop of reagent is remaining on the burette tip. If there is a drop, touch the burette tip gently to the edge of the receiving glassware to complete the addition. Record the final volume on the burette, making sure to be at eye level when viewing the meniscus. The difference between the initial and final readings is the volume of reagent dispensed by the burette. Remember, all volumes should be recorded to the hundredths place. The dispensed volume, therefore, should be recorded to the hundredths place. If an additional aliquot of reagent needs to be dispensed by burette, make sure that there is sufficient solution in the burette for this trial. If there is not a sufficient amount of reagent, use a funnel to add more. Again, it is not important to fill the burette to a certain volume. You are able to record any initial volume. If the burette is not to be used again, clean it at your lab bench. Completely drain the burette into a waste beaker designated for the waste hood. Perform a single rinse of the burette with a small quantity of tap water and collect this into the waste hood beaker as well. Be sure to rinse the burette tip as well as the main body. All subsequent rinses may be collected in a beaker designated for sink disposal. Rinse the burette at least 2 times with sufficient amounts of tap water before performing a final rinse using DI water. When the burette has been thoroughly rinsed, return it to the burette cart and all other materials that were collected during lab. If the lab was set up for you, simply rinse your burette and other glassware and leave the lab benches as you found them. Thank you for viewing this tutorial. Prior to your first lab, record at least 3 reminders on how to clean and use a burette in the Instrument and Equipment section in your lab notebook. I'll see you all in lab.